Hey there, Coach Chris Wilson with Team Critical Bench. I am the head strength coach here, and I want to talk with you about something that really affects a large number of people. And as you may have guessed, it's ugly forward head posture. But what is posture, and why is that so important? And why is a strength coach, going to talk with you about it? Well, number one, if we think way back to when we were children, right? What was one thing that we were critiqued on maybe as kids in school or at the dinner table? Sit up straight, stop slouching, stuff like that, right? And I think without our teachers and parents really thinking about it, they could very quickly, though, assess this ugly posture that we were putting ourselves in. It looks lazy. It looks, it looks undisciplined, or it's just ugly. And so they would correct us, and that correction is a really good thing. But posture starts actually from the head down. We think I think a lot of times with our spine or with posture, with having a sore back or achy back, that it kind of starts around our hips or around our lower back area, and really it's kind of the spine follows the head. So when you start to drop your head or you start to, roll your shoulders forward, everything kind of follows from there. And that's from when we're standing to when we're sitting, either way. So posture is something that really, has a lot to do with how we feel in life. It can affect our breathing. It can affect our circulation. It can affect our performance, physical performance on the field. It can affect our performance sexually. And this is all no joke. I mean, this is the spine. If our spine is, goes through some type of trauma, it gets damaged in some way, that can affect everything, right? I mean, if people get a neck injury, and then it can affect the function of their arms. So we have to definitely do a good job of assessing our posture and understanding the importance of really good posture, and then it does start from the head. So 3 quick things that you can do that you will see in this video, and I got a link up here for you. Number 1 is you want to just take a couple of your fingers and just do some testing of the muscles that support your head, that are in your neck, that support your head and are responsible for good posture. Number 1 would be sternocleidomastoid. That's that very large muscle that's on the side of your neck. And if you manipulate your chin a little bit or move your head a little bit, you can feel that very large muscle on each side. Number 2 would be the trapezius, the big muscles at the base of your neck on the back. And if you kind of just lightly touch them or massage them and see if there's any tenderness or any sore spots there, that could be an indicator of that you've put yourself in forward head posture, or that you're finding yourself in that position throughout the day, and it's causing tightness or soreness in those muscles because you're stressing those muscles out. Typically what it means is that one is working too hard and another one's not working hard enough, or getting activated enough, right? And because these muscles are responsible for supporting our head. Our head's fairly heavy, and as our head kind of goes, and I'll talk more about this later, as our head goes forward, it puts a lot more stress on our spine. A number 2 thing that you can do is you can assess that bump on the back of kind of below your neck, that bump there, where that bone that you feel there, and you want to just check that out to see, is that area raised up? Is that area extra fatty, or feel like there's extra padding? And a lot of times what happens is, as our head drops forward and we find ourselves in forward head posture more often, we find that bump actually increases in size because our body is an adaptation machine, so it starts to do whatever it can to fortify certain areas that are becoming like weak links or that are becoming overly worked or stressed out, okay? So you'll find that people that are in bad posture a lot will have like an extra exaggerated bump on that area. And then number 3, this is where you'd want somebody's help. You'd want to assess from a profile position, somebody to like take a picture of you. And then you want to see the points of your body, how they line up, your hips to your shoulders to your head. You want your ear to line up with your shoulder right down to your hips. And this can be done from a standing or from a seated position. We find ourselves sitting so much, and sitting is a really huge player in poor posture, and I will get into that in more detail. So posture's impact on the musculoskeletal system and on just on our spinal health in general is kind of transcends all people. I'm guilty of poor posture on many occasions. I'm right there in the mix with somebody that constantly has to assess. I sit a lot for what I do for work. If you work on a computer a lot, if you're at a desk for long stretches of time, if you're driving a lot, this seated position can wreak havoc on your body long term, of course. And this goes for people who are even very active. I'm a pretty active guy. I walk every day with my dogs. I play with my kids. I work out. But still, I can suffer from poor posture or forward head posture because I spend a significant amount of time, 8 hours or more, 5 days a week, in this like seated position. So it's constant correction. And so what's the number one thing that most people notice about you when they maybe first meet you? They notice your appearance, your body language, and it's very telling. It's probably the one. You speak more to people with your appearance and your body language than what you say or do. And right away, you can tell if somebody is in this position quite a bit. And I'll turn sideways, just to show you. And if you're from this standing position here, all it takes is kind of this to really be in poor alignment and to already be stressing out your spine and have a heavier head, in essence, right? The head only weighs 8 to 10 pounds, but as soon as you start to come here, now it's like a 12-pound head and then like a 16 to 20-pound head and further down the line, right? So appearance is something that is just instant. You see it in seconds, and you can go from kind of a very healthy-looking person who's tall and maybe not, and rather slim, to somebody who looks unhealthy, who looks shorter, and maybe who looks more less fit or more unfit. Because as soon as you start to take on this poor forward head posture, your body can look shorter, and it can also look fatter, 5 to 10 pounds, and shorter by 1 or 2 inches, just by how you're standing and how you're, obviously in a seated position as well. It's pretty revealing. Something else that's pretty disturbing with having forward head posture or forward head position is it can actually start to impact your hormone regulation, or the way your body releases certain hormones. Number one for guys is testosterone, right? And so a big player in the whole world of muscle growth and muscle building is cortisol. And when we find ourselves in this forward head posture position for extended periods, we actually stress our body out, and cortisol is kind of a stress hormone. So we're actually giving our body more cortisol or raising the level of cortisol in our system just by assessing this really poor posture for long periods of time. Another thing that's really disturbing is our breathing is affected. So, the best way to breathe well is to stand up tall, to belly breathe, to breathe not just into your chest, but to breathe into your belly with deep breaths. And that's something that you can do it seated as well. And it's something that you can easily do just by putting a hand over your chest and a hand over your belly. And when you breathe, Try to take breaths in so that you're actually feeling your belly push out and not your chest. And what's really crazy is that forward head posture can actually decrease your lung capacity by 30%. It's a big, big number. So, of course, athletes and people who are trying to maintain elite levels of health, breathing's enormous. I mean, without a breath, we're not able to perform well at all. We're not oxygenating our blood, and our body's muscles aren't able to perform. So breathing's huge. So as a strength coach, it makes sense that you'd be interested in really good posture for optimal breathing. So as I said, starving yourself of oxygen with poor posture, not a good way to go. It's actually been shown in studies to help induce or be a cause or a player in sleep apnea, which is a huge thing. And, when you're disrupting your sleep patterns, you're not getting proper rest at night, you're waking up, you can't get into a good position when you're horizontal because of how poor your position is throughout the day, it's not good. It's not good. So as you can see, it really kind of trickles down into a lot of different things that you wouldn't, really think about right away unless somebody said something to you about it. Poor posture is going to affect the way I'm sleeping. Well, when I'm sleeping, I'm just laying there, but it does, because we're in that position for such an extended period of time throughout the day that our body's muscles and this poor posture seems to almost just be kind of our fallback position, even when we're at rest. Pretty scary. So it also really affects our energy levels, how alert and how vigorous we feel, right? Because if you're not getting good oxygenation, if you're putting yourself in this bad posture on a regular basis, and we're not getting good circulation in our body, and our spine doesn't have all these nice natural curves like it's supposed to. We're supposed to have 3 natural curves of our spine: our cervical spine, our thoracic, right, into our lumbar. And that's how our spine is just supposed to, this very, very nice kind of elongated S shape. And forward head posture doesn't give us that, right? So it's going to affect just how we feel throughout the day. If we feel maybe lethargic and a bit lazy and stuff when you're sitting. And sitting kind of, when you go for a long drive, you start to get a little dozy and, you're going to just want to close your eyes and fall asleep. It's not just that you're sitting for extended periods, it's the position your body is in that kind of lends itself to feeling that way. Pretty interesting. That's why when you get up and you just walk around, go for a drink of water or move for 5 or 10 minutes, you instantly kind of feel more alert and more vigorous. People want to run right out and buy some type of high-powered energy drink, but really all they need is to get up and walk around and move. Movement is what gives you energy, and movement is what helps reset your position and put your spine more in optimal position. When you're upright and you're walking and your shoulders are back and your chest is out and your chin is tucked in, it all makes sense. This should make sense to you as I'm talking about these things, because it makes perfect sense to me that this ugly forward head posture position is just the cause of kind of all these other things on some level. I'm not saying it's like if you fix this, your whole life is going to be just instantly better, but I would say that you will notice in many different areas of your life that, I am sleeping better. I do have more energy. I am in less pain. I am exercising better or performing better at the gym or for longer periods, or I feel stronger. Maybe even sexually I'm performing better, because again, when our spine is all messed up, it's going to maybe have an effect on that center of our body or our hip area. So one of the biggest causes of this ugly forward head posture, besides the sitting at the desk for extended periods of time like I do on the computer, again, I'm constantly kind of sitting myself up, and you feel the clicks in your back, as you kind of sit back up straight. It's because the body very quickly starts to get into this relaxed, lazy position, and your spine wants to be nice and tall, but we're just kind of constantly forcing it into this ugly position. Texting and using our phones, using our tablets, this is another very, I want to say dangerous. I don't want to make it sound like, if you do this, death is imminent. It's not true. I'm just saying, because this is like something that we do so often. It's so routine. It's so much a habit in our lives, me included, that we're looking down and we're like this, right? We're all it takes is this position. That's all it takes. But we're in this position for long periods of time. So, ideally, we're not going to walk around probably texting like this, but there are things that we could always do to improve, to a certain extent, our posture when we're using the computer, when we're using a tablet, when we're texting, because it goes back to the weight of your head on your spine. And the more we thrust that head forward and roll our shoulders forward, the more pressure, the more weight we're putting on our spine, making it work much, much harder. You can actually be so bad where your head is so far forward over your spine and so out of alignment that you're creating like 30 to 40 pounds of pressure on your back, on your spine. And then people wonder why they have loss of mobility, loss of strength, discomfort, low back pain, all these things that arise from just this daily, long hours of time of just poor posture. So I mentioned earlier, one of the number one muscles that's responsible for supporting your head, supporting your neck, supporting your spine, and that's the sternocleidomastoid. It's a big, big, long word. Look it up. We'll pop it up on the screen here for you so you can see it. And like I said, we have these very large muscles. The largest of the neck. There's other muscles in there like the scalenes and stuff, and like I said, there's the trapezius. There's other stuff going on, but the sternocleidomastoid, because we're in this constant, head position where we're just kind of thrusting forward, we're actually not keeping it nice and long. We're shortening it, and this bad habit is actually damaging those muscles in the kind of the front side of our neck. So that's why it's good to assess yourself. It's good to just palpate and do some light massage, not too strong. You don't want to stress out the tissue or the muscle there, but just to feel it out. And, mine doesn't really I don't really feel anything necessarily, but when injury specialist Rick Aselge came and assessed all of our posture, he very quickly noticed and found a couple spots on us initially when we were talking about how impactful the forward head posture was in our lives as people that work at a computer a lot. So as I said, this use of technology or even overuse of technology wasn't a factor decades ago, right? Computers have been around for 30 plus years. Cell phones only for really the last 20. Texting's only been really big for 15 or so years. So what you see is the emergence of this new technology that is now causing something to be more. I would say it's exacerbated an issue that maybe was already there for a small part of the population, but it seems to have grown just to astronomical numbers. You look at some of the statistics, we'll put some up here on the screen. There's some really like jaw-dropping numbers when you look at just the young people 18 to 24, how many texts obviously that they're sending, and they're gonna be in that position for extended periods of time. And again, I go back to even elite athletes can have issues with their posture, with their spine. Even people who are muscular and working out for hours at a time, if they're also putting themselves in this ugly position, it's kind of offsetting or undoing some of the good that they're doing to their body. So your body can only handle so much poor posture. So the forward head posture, which is also called texting neck, if I haven't said that yet, text neck is kind of the slang for having ugly forward head posture. That's obviously just come on in the last 10, 15 years, but it's very, it's a true thing. I'm guilty of it myself, and I kind of laugh to myself because it's something that I'm thinking about now that I wasn't thinking about just a year ago. It kind of is something that's always in my mind when I'm working, when I'm using technology. I'm kind of like, well, should I try to sit up and hold it out in front of me a little bit more? Or, wow, I've been texting now for like 3 minutes and I was like that the whole time. And so I'll like stand up and try to put myself in a different position. So just being aware that awareness is a big deal. You can save yourself minutes, if not hours a day of poor posture just by doing that. The other thing that forward head posture can create is this upper cross syndrome, where your shoulders really roll forward. So it's not just kind of the head and neck, if I stand this way, that come forward, but you have some of this that starts to happen. And that's where your appearance really, really starts to get ugly. And it's, the weight of your head and the weight of that top part of your spine has now created this significant imbalance in how our muscles are performing and stuff, and it's throwing everything out of whack. So as you can imagine, it's just a domino effect of bad things that can happen to you physically and visually, and those things then again affect all those other, like hormone regulation and our sleeping quality, our sexual performance, our performance on the field of play. So all these things play into it. So again, if I was to create a checklist of all the benefits of really good posture, obviously you're going to have improved breathing. You're going to have an improved look. You're going to look taller. You're going to look leaner or thinner by 5 to 10 pounds just because think of people that in your family or friends that have poor posture, and if they just stood taller with their shoulders back and their chin in. The chin in thing is just very, very simple. It's just your head not being kind of tilted forward. It's just your head sitting on top of your neck, in that kind of nice, upright, healthy looking position. You're going to have improved motor function, right? You're going to have improved sexual performance, improved physical performance. There's just so many great things that you can very quickly fix just with this forward head posture being corrected. And one last thing to leave you with as well is that stretching and stuff is very beneficial to the body, but there is a certain way to do stretching, or why don't I just go ahead and say flexibility or mobility versus stretching? Because I think when we think of stretching, we think of putting yourself in a position and holding it for like 15 or 20 seconds, and that's static stretching or passive stretching. And that has its place, but that's a very small percentage of the big picture when it comes to improving muscle health, improving motor function, or improving just the function of the body, and your range of motion and how your body moves. So everything I've just said is actually in this booklet, in this video, and we take you step by step through all of the modalities, all the different things that you can do for your forward head posture. I'm just presenting this because I've kind of covered a lot of the information very briefly, because I don't want to get too in-depth, but if you want more in-depth information, between these two things, you're going to be able to fix your forward head posture. I promise you that. But in the meantime, if you want something that you could do right now that's very quick and free, is the self-assessment test, okay, for forward head posture. And so all you got to do is click this box right here. It's just a quick test. There's 3 things I kind of talked about or alluded to in the beginning of this video, 3 things that you need to do to assess your forward head posture or lack thereof, let's hope. And it can be very helpful to you. So all you got to do is click this box right here, enter your email, and then you'll be able to go right to that video for the self-assessment. Now, if you're on a mobile device and you can't click that box, all you got to do is click that link below this video in the description area, that top link. It's www.criticalbench.com/FHP. It stands for forward head posture. That's the self-assessment test. Very, very helpful. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful to you. Again, I know I covered things kind of just briefly. I scratched the surface. And if you have some comments or questions, leave it below for us. Give this video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we thank you so much for watching the Critical Bench channel. We'll see you again soon.